In this video, I'm going to focus on using styles. Styles are something that you probably haven't used a whole lot yet. Some of you may have. But to get started, I would say that styles have two functions. One is that they contain a set of formatting options so that you don't have to keep formatting text over and over again. So for example, if you had text that was 12-point Times New Roman italicized and centered, and you had portions of your document where you wanted to apply that kind of formatting, instead of going through the steps over and over again, you could just assign those formatting options to a particular style and then call upon that style when you need them. We can also use styles, though, for other purposes. So one is that we can use them to generate a table of contents. So if we go through our document and we mark certain portions of it off, we can use those portions later to generate the table of contents. All of this is a little abstract, but if you follow along, eventually it will hopefully start to make sense as you see step by step how all of these tools work. So let's take a look at what we have here. We have a highly truncated memorandum that I found online, and it's only a few pages long because the original is much longer, but for our demonstration purposes, I made it really short and truncated. So we have a statement of facts, an argument, point heading 1, point heading 2, and a conclusion. So what we want to do here is we want all of the items I just pointed out to appear in the table of contents, and we also want some of them to be numbered. So we don't want to number a statement of facts or argument, but we want to number the 2-point headings with Roman numerals. But again, we want all of it to show up in the table of contents. So let's take a look at what we should do. Just put your cursor in the statement of facts. When you're applying styles from the styles gallery, you're applying them at the paragraph level so you don't have to highlight portions of text. I'm actually going to highlight this as an initial step though because I want this to be bolded in my document. So I'm just going to hit Command Bold, or rather Command B. And now I want to apply heading 1. Headings are the kinds of styles that we use to generate a table of contents. So I'm going to look up here in my styles gallery. If you don't have one of these visible, which you may not if you have an older Mac, you can always hit Styles pane and follow along here. So I'm just going to put my cursor in here and I'm going to look at heading 1. So if you take a look, the formatting option here is a default blue thing. So if I click on it, it's going to apply this Calibri Light 16-point font blue text. Obviously this is not how I want my brief to look, so I'm going to undo that and I'm going to go back to heading 1 and I'm going to right click and I'm going to see an option called Update Heading 1 to Match Selection. So click this. So two things have happened now. Statement of facts is marked as heading 1 and heading 1 has absorbed all of the formatting from statement of facts. So it's now bolded 12-point Times New Roman font. So I'm going to go down to argument here and I'm going to apply heading 1. And now it bolds it for me because that is how heading 1 is set up. If I wanted to now make heading 1 underlined, I could underline statement of facts, again, update heading 1 to match selection, and the changes that I've made will be visible along anything that's marked heading 1. Now I don't happen to want to underline this, so I'm just going to undo that part. Now I'm going to hit this as heading 1. I hit heading 1 and it centers it for me too because that's how heading 1 is formatted. You don't always have to do update heading 1 to match selection. If you want to change something, you can right click and hit modify and have a menu here to change how you want the different headings or other kinds of styles to appear. And now I want to do the same thing with heading 2. So I'm going to go to my first point heading. I'm going to bold this too because I ultimately do want it bolded. I'm going to leave my cursor there, hover over heading 2, right click, update heading 2 to match selection, and the same exact thing has happened where this is now marked as heading 2 and heading 2 has this kind of formatting. I'm going to do the same thing here with my second point heading and mark it as heading 2. Alright, so now all of my headings are done. And the next thing I want to do is create the list that I talked about earlier. So if you make sure that you're on your home screen, or rather like your home tab, I think it's called a ribbon now, your home ribbon, you'll see that there are these different kinds of lists that you've probably used for a while now. You can see the kinds of bulleted lists over here. You can see regular numbered lists over here. but we're going to use an option called multi-level lists. So as you'll see here, there's some pre-formatted options, and some of them are actually designed to go with headings. So if one of these options happened to match the kind of formatting that you wanted to apply, you could just stop right now and click one of them. Unfortunately, none of these options represent what we want to apply, because we want to have heading 1 with no numbers, heading 2 with Roman numerals 1, 2, 3, and so on. And if we did a heading 3, we'd want ABC. So we're going to hit Define New Multi-Level List. All right, and you want to expand it. So I have a little arrow here. You might have a button saying More. So expand it over there, and let's start with level 1. And what we want to do first is we want to look at this option here that says Link Level to Style, okay? And it's here that we can choose heading 1. So now whatever formatting options I choose for this list, it will apply to anything in my document marked heading 1. So what do I want for heading 1? Nothing. So I go to this thing here where it says Enter Formatting for Number, and I just delete this so that there's nothing in front of heading 1. And I have a nice preview here. So I can see right here that heading 1 is not numbered. Now I want to go to heading 2. So I hit level 2, and I go to Link Level to Style, and I'm going to select heading 2. For heading 2, I actually do want to apply a number style, and there are a number of preset styles here. So I can open up the menu, and I can click Roman numeral, and notice this automatically has a parenthesis. I don't want that. I want a period. So I'm going to delete the parenthesis and hit period. Now, in case I want to have a level 3, I'll show you how to do that too. So hit level 3. Again, we're going to link it to heading 3, and the number style that we would want if we use this would be ABC. And I'm going to get rid of the parenthesis again and just put a period there. So this is a nice preview of how I want everything to appear. Note that there are other formatting options here. So you'll see number position. You can align it. So if you look through the levels, level 1 is aligned at 0, level 2 is aligned at 0.25, level 3 at 0.5, so on and so on. So they all indent a little bit as you go along, and you can change that as much as you want. But I'm going to leave it with the defaults. So now I'm going to hit OK. All right, and if I look through my document, I have my statement of facts with no numbers, my argument with no numbers, which is what I want, and then I have these 2 items with the Roman numerals. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to talk about how to take these items and make a table of contents out of them. But before I do that, I want to show you one other thing that you probably haven't been aware of. I want to show you how to change the default typeface in your document. So say, for example, I have Word and I haven't done this yet. I could hit, I'm going to open a new document, and you'll see that it defaults to Calibri 11. I think that's what your default is. But I don't think anybody writes with Calibri 11 when they hand in a paper. Okay, so I want to change this. So every time I open up my document, it will actually be formatted according to my own specifications. So I'm going to highlight a word, and I'm going to hit either Control-D on a Windows computer, Command-D on a Mac, or I can just go to Format Font. And now I'm going to change the font that I want. Pick whatever is your most used style. I'm going to choose, I'm just going to type it in, Times New Roman. Oops. I'm going to go back here. Times New Roman, regular, size 12. And now I'm going to go to this default button and click that. So it says, do you want to set the default font to Times New Roman 12.4, this document only, or all documents based on the normal template? I'm going to click this one. And I'm going to hit OK. And now every time I open a document in the normal template, which is the automatic way you open documents unless you take some extra steps, it's going to be formatted exactly how I want. This is helpful going forward, but it's also helpful, as you'll see later on, when you're working on a document, to have the default font something that you actually use. Okay, so that concludes this video.